she's saying. People could be working and doing meetings.
Okay, if you cannot hear me, it's because you haven't share your screen now, and we'll try and get started. I don't know, unable to follow directions to not mute their phone. So I've avoided the classroom. I'm going to 2 seconds. Unfortunately, in this recording, we're still getting so each week we'll see the announcement posted. This should be there. And
I'm hearing a word she's saying.
can you please mute your phone? Or you can hang up and you can watch the video later. There we go. Okay, now you should be able to hear me. Okay. So here's it. That sounds good. Thank you to whoever just muted their phone. You want to check the announcements each week because I'll put reminders about what's due that week. So for instance, this week I put the class conference there, and then I also started to look at this assignment that's going to be due. Okay, so your first assignment is a video presentation. So with all of the assignments, what I really recommend is that you look up, move that, it doesn't want to move, that you look up the assignment and look at the rubric. I'm going to stop my share for a second. That didn't want to move, and I'm going to come over and find my rubrics so that I can share those with you as well. So our first assignment is the video assignment. And one thing about the video assignment, so again, review the rubrics, but one thing about the video assignment is to really pick a topic, one, that you're interested in, and two, that you can engage your audience with. So let's scroll down and look at the assignment. Go back to sharing the screen. And you'll see, for instance, this week we have a draft of your lesson plan. That's basically a checkoff that says that you've done the lesson plan. But I will also, in particular, look at your objectives and your plan and give you feedback on that. Week 4, you actually present the video. And again, that is a checkoff for participation with presenting your video. And then you actually also submit the video to me. So really pay close attention here to the rubrics because this is how I grade. So one thing I often see students do is not adhere to this 3 to 5 minute requirement here. Let me highlight that for you. So if you are kind of like far under the 3 minutes, then most likely your lesson plan is lacking depth. If you are over the 5 minutes, you will lose points as well. So that's one of the other challenges when you're choosing your topic for your video. It's to really choose a topic that you can do in the 3 to 5 minutes. Another thing that I look at with the grading following the rubric here is that the lighting needs to be good. So we need to be able to see you. So for instance, those of you that are watching this as a video or even as right now on the computer, when you look at my picture and me talking, I don't think my lighting is that good. So if I was getting graded on this, I would change the lighting. And then another good point about as you do these assignments is that you want to give yourself plenty of time to do them. So don't think, oh, I've got a 3 to 5 minute video to do and it's gonna take me 10 minutes total to do it and process it and all that. Just like you wouldn't write a paper real quickly and then hand it in without proofreading and maybe going back and making changes over time, with your presentations and here, your 3 assignments, you really want to be able to take the time and go back and review them. and know that you might have to do them over, particularly if you don't want to lose points. So you ran through it once, you made this recording, and it was 5 minutes and 30 seconds. Okay, now you got to think about, do I want to lose up to 10 points because I went over by 30 seconds? Or do I want to put a little more effort, re-record or edit it and get it back down within the time limit? And reviewing it too, does my lighting look good? Is my audio good? Can I hear what I have said in that video? Sometimes what can happen too is students will do a presentation and it will be really obvious that they're kind of just reading from the notes or reading from the notes on the computer and not really making eye contact with the camera, kind of just stiffly reading notes, what I would say kind of straight lecture, and that's going to lose you points as well. So you really are trying to engage with your audience. You want your content to be flowing, and that you're using strategies that prompt folks to be thinking about their learning. So really thinking about this too. So just talking in a video for 5 minutes about a topic is not going to get you a really great score on the video. So think of perhaps, I think where students do well in this is teaching a skill like hand washing or how to drop insulin or something where there's actually tools and things that really support the learning. If you are really passionate about something and you feel like it doesn't have those tools, you could have, I've had students make posters that they're pointing to in the background, or they'll, very creative and technologically adept students might even make slides that they'll intersperse within their video and that sort of thing. But I think doing a video lesson where you're just kind of talking at the camera, reading notes, you're going to lose points in a number of areas. Be sure that you state your learning objectives clearly and that I can tell as I grade that those are your learning objectives. So making a statement like, the learning objectives for this video class are, is really helpful. Not just for me, but for your intended audience as well. That you also speak to what the learning need is. So why is this lesson necessary? You need to pause the video to have your learners go out and do something. So this is part of the rubric. So figuring out how to do that and when to do that in your video is great. So maybe, okay, now I'm going to pause the video and you can go out and watch this other video, this YouTube video that's going to really expand on what I just said. Or now you don't have to actually stop your video. You just tell the viewers to now pause the video. And here's where some students lose some point is thought and creativity. So it's that, it's pretty obvious that you put some thought and time and creativity into this. It wasn't a last minute thing. It wasn't like, okay, here's my objectives, here's the things I'm going to talk about, and so forth. On the final lesson plan, so these are kind of the areas that you'll be doing in the lesson plan anyway, but where I see students lose points, and I've been taking this class for about 2 years now, is in this evaluate and revise section right here. So when you do the final lesson plan, be sure to not leave that out. You take the feedback that I've given you and that your peers have given you, and you talk about what kind of changes you would make them and how you would make them. And that needs to be clear in that section. All right. There's also this QSIN section that needs to be filled out too, and sometimes students forget that. So I would also say before you turn in any assignment, go ahead and review the rubric. Use the rubric as you develop the assignment and review it and say, did I really address that? My other recommendation, I think I've already said it 2 or 3 times, but I could say it again before we go on to the next assignment, is to give yourself some time to do these assignments just like you would with a paper. You might give yourself a day or a half day or whatever, or 2 half days to write a paper. So same thing with these presentations. There are no other papers in this class. There's discussions and these 3 presentations. So you should kind of be putting that same sort of effort out, that you're going to record your assignment, that you're going to review your assignment, and possibly do it over or edit it so that it meets all these requirements in the assignment. Let's go on and look at the other two assignments, and then I'll take questions at the end. I think that'll work best with the muting and the unmuting and the issues we had earlier, which happens, by the way, every time that I do this. So don't feel bad if you didn't mute right away. But every time that I do this, this does happen, that we get that feedback noise in the beginning until people all get muted. So your next assignment is a screencast, and most students are like, what is a screencast? So a screencast is really basically what I am doing right now. I am sharing my screen with you, right? So most students will do a PowerPoint, and then there's a program you can use. Most students use Screencast-O-Matic. I think that's probably in the resources for you. And then it does basically what I'm doing here. Or you could use something like what I'm using here is Zoom, is the program that I'm using to record what's on your screen and your audio as well. If you did use something like Zoom, what's nice, as you can see in this video, is that you can see me. So you could have yourself talking and showing your screen as well, which is what I like a lot about Zoom. Screencast-O-Matic is good as well. So other things that people do for screencasts, so you might have a PowerPoint where you're talking about what it is you're teaching, or you might go out to a website and show people how to navigate around the website, and you're basically doing a recording of that. So that's what a screencast is. I have had students really struggle with that and the technology. So with that, I would say, again, giving yourself that time to play around with the technology and to really get used to using it, allowing yourself more than one take, giving yourself, either a full day or several half days to review things so that you can make sure that you provide a great example. I think what can be neat about this class too is that you can take these products, they're going to be part of your portfolio for the end of this class, but you can also take these products and use them if you're going to be applying for a job or someone wants to see how you teach. You can provide them with a link. So here's a little lesson plan that I put together about this topic. And so it can be used as a tool for that as well. For the screencast, you actually write out a script. Some students do very detailed scripts. Other students do kind of more like an outline script. I'm kind of fine with either way. When you submit your script, it's kind of a check off here, as we can see on the grading, but then even if you get the full 25 points, check my feedback, because I may point some things out to you, like perhaps your objectives and that sort of thing. And then again, you submit your screencast. I believe those get peer review feedback, so that's the other checklist here. And then how will you be graded on your actual screencast? So again, we need to stay within that 3 to 5 minute time limit. I'd say, if you're 2 minutes or less, you're probably going to lose points there. And if you're 5 minutes or more, you could lose points. So timing yourself before you record and practicing is good as well. And then again, viewing it again and making sure it's within the time limit. On-screen elements. So, if you're reviewing a website or showing somebody how to get to something in a website, there's not a whole lot you can do about the on-screen elements. But I have had students who start the presentation when they're going to review a website. So they might have their PowerPoint. I don't have a PowerPoint open right now, but they might have their PowerPoint open and start with that. And then as they're recording their screen, they come over to the website, and then they maybe go back to the PowerPoint at the end. So really being creative with that. Where I think some students may lose points here is that they just have text on their screen or on their PowerPoint that they're sharing. No use of graphics. It's not very engaging. So you really have to help your learners with this and really think of how can I get this audience engaged and keep them engaged. Having too much text on the screen or just reading the text on the screen, that's not really what I would call great teaching either. So usually I would say have some bullet points, have some graphics, and then you are actually teaching and talking about the subject. Watching it back so that you can hear the audio quality. Not so much in the screencast, but sometimes in the first video assignment and the role play assignment, If you don't watch it back, so sometimes students will record in their work setting and you can hear things going on in the background, or they'll record at home and they've got kids to take care of and the kids are sitting in front of the TV. So here this person's trying to record this lesson, but you can hear the TV in the background. So really checking those things. Again, watching your presentation again, looking back at the rubric. You know, practice your presentation. So presentation skills get trained here too. And really having good word choice, but also just feeling comfortable. And for some of us, that is a big challenge, really feeling comfortable with use of technology. There's probably hardly any of us that really like to watch ourselves on video. I don't even let it work right now. I can see myself and I'm like, oh, that's fabulous. We may not feel comfortable, but we are probably much more critical than our learners and our teachers would be. And then you want to, again, another reason for practicing is that you can go through things clearly, that you're using appropriate teaching strategies, and then back this thing again, make it very clear what the objectives and the learning need are. If you do a PowerPoint for this, make sure you clearly state on one of the slides and or verbally what the learning objectives are and what the learning need is. Learning objectives are, the learning need is, and that way I'll be sure to catch it as I'm grading. Again, the rubric is asking you to pause the video and send your readers out to, or your watchers out to do something that's active and participatory. So it may be they need to go check something. It may be that they need to, I don't know, write down their first impressions on a discussion board. So it's really up to you to decide what that active participation is going to be. And that you have put thought and creativity. So again, if you're not using graphics, if you're not using pictures, if your presentation is really plain, you would probably end up losing points in this category too. And that's kind of just the reality of teaching today in this modern era, is that we really expect people to keep us engaged and to stimulate us and to address all the different ways of learning. Then you will turn in your final script / lesson plan. Again, remembering to address this evaluate and revise section. I think what happens is obviously you don't do that when you turn in your draft, and it's at the very end of the lesson plan. So, well, actually it's not at the very end, it's right above the cues and requirements, but it can be easy to just think, oh, that doesn't apply. But yes, it does apply in all 3 assignments that you do the evaluate and revise section. So that is your second assignment. And then your third assignment is the role play video. And where is that? Role play. All right, so role play, you also do submit a draft of your lesson plan. Again, you want to, this one is a little different, and I saw it last time I taught this. They're asking that you do at least 3 learning objectives. The other draft lesson plans do not ask for a specific number of learning objectives, I would say, but for all of them have at least 3. But this one actually gives points for having at least 3, and that the learning domains of the objectives were correct and explained in detail. The other 2 assignments don't ask for this. So again, please go back to those rubrics as you turn in your assignments and make sure you address those things. Role play demonstration. So what is a role play? This is a video of you teaching with somebody else. You're not co-teaching, rather you're teaching someone else and you're role modeling. So for instance, your audience might be nursing students, and you might be role modeling how to teach a diabetic to give an injection. So you have the other person there with you at the beginning. So make sure at the beginning of the video that you introduce the lesson, that you state the learning objectives and the learning need, and you really address your audience. What I see happen occasionally usually a few people each term do this, is that they jump right into the role play and they end the role play, and there's no interaction with those learners out there who are your audience. So you have to keep that in mind. You're doing a role play, but first you're talking to your learners, you're introducing, you're stating the objectives and the learning need, and at the end of the role play, you're kind of concluding things. So you have to have a willing person to help you out with this. So some topics, so I said, teaching someone how to drop or inject their insulin. I've seen students do things like role modeling different kinds of assessments. There's assessments for drug use or alcohol use or that sort of thing. And so they might role model, this is what it looks like when you assess a patient using this tool for assessing for this behavior or issue. So those are the sort of role modeling things that I have seen and that seem to work well. Let's see. Again, remembering to do that, evaluate and revise. And so one thing that can be with the with your actual role play is that, one, you've got to find that person who's willing to help you out. And most people usually use a colleague or a family member. Practicing it with them. So you need to get a little bit of time commitment from them. Hopefully it's not just this 10-minute thing, but that you're going to practice, you're going to time it, you're going to video it, you're going to look at it together, talk about it, look back at the rubric, am I meeting the rubric requirements, and then record again if you need to. So having someone who's patient and willing to support your learning is very helpful. Again, that video length is the 3 to 5 minutes. You need to check your lighting and your audio quality. Presentation skills, so this is always an interesting thing. So when you're introducing the video, the learning, you want to be making that good eye contact with the camera. But then when you're role playing, you're going to be turning to, and you need to have that camera angled so you can see both parties in there. So you probably need to play around with that a little bit as well. I have seen people where they might have the camera behind them, so you kind of only you can see the person they're teaching, but you can't see the actual teacher. And I think that's really important, which would be you. I think that's really important to show, particularly when you're role playing, like, what does the nurse look like when he or she is teaching this? So, and a lot of these are you're probably starting to see some trends here in the rubrics. They tend to all kind of contain some of the same things, that your presentation is smooth, that you're using different teaching strategies, that you clearly have stated the objectives, and you've clearly stated the learning need, and that the interactions really do demonstrate the skill, and that much thought and creativity went into the presentation. So I also put in the announcements on February 29th. I put this one here that kind of tells you what's due for each week for each major assignment. So the first one is the creating the video assignment, and it walks you through what is due in what week. Then we move on to screencast assignment, what is due in what week. Interestingly, while you're finishing up screencast, you're starting role play during week 8. So there's a little bit of crossover there. But you probably want to print this up so that you know what is due when. And then you'll notice, for instance, this week I just pulled out okay, we're getting started on the video, and here's what this timeline is going to look like. So I think that's about it. I'm going to stop my screen share and come back to you and see what sort of questions you have. So now's the time. If you'd like to unmute and ask a question, you may.
I do have a
Dr.
question.
Clark?
Yes. Where can I find the rubrics for these?
I think they're under course information.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hi, Dr. Clark. This is Keisha. For the different projects, can they be 3 different topics or do they have to be the same?
Well, that's always a great question. So, students often have that question. So, it's really up to you. So, if you are all about diabetic teaching, your first video might be, I don't know, demonstrating how to check your blood sugar. Your second, the screencast might be about diabetic nutrition. And then your last one might be role playing how to give a diabetic injection. And that would be perfectly fine. So they can be the same kind of general topic, but each has to be really specific. If that makes sense. Or they can all be completely unrelated.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
To Dr. Clark, I'm Carly Joseph. And my question to you is, on the screencast, is it like a video? Is it more like FaceTime?
It can't. So yeah, I think FaceTime is a way to think about it, but the screencast is you're teaching by sharing your screen. So you're either going to use something like Zoom. I'm not sure about FaceTime. I'm not super familiar with that. Or Screencast-O-Matic.
Dr. Clark, I didn't really hear it. Your voice was a little muffled. Could you
Okay.
repeat?
Yes. So with the screencast, you are taking a video of your screen. And you use either Screencast-O-Matic or you can use, like what I'm using now, the Zoom or something like that. So
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm actually using my phone because I'm at work. I'm sitting in the ICU.
Okay.
So, okay, I guess I'll have to play around with that and get someone to help me.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
There'll be examples of it, and watch the video too. This video might help too, because this is basically a screencast. So,
Okay. This is JoJo. Bye-bye.
bye.
Bye.
Any other questions?
Dr. Clark,
Yes.
this is Pat Brandon.
Hi.
You was talking about having a script for the screencast.
Yes.
Do we write out what we're doing for the screencast and read that, or is that just something that we submit with our film or picture?
So the script is it's part of the assignment. It's kind of part of the template, the lesson plan template that you submit before you do the screencast. Again, how much detail you put is up to you. I recommend not writing out a script in that you're going to read it word for word. That generally just does not work well. So think of it more as an outline of your main points.
Okay, and you said that we can use PowerPoint?
You can use PowerPoint if you like, or I think that's what most people find works well. Or as I said, you can use PowerPoint to sort of introduce, and then you could go out to a website. So some students have taught on things like how to, teaching a patient how to access their patient information on this hospital's system. So they might start with a PowerPoint, like these are our learning objectives, and they'll click over onto the system and show people how to access it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, I think the screencast is the biggest mystery, just because we have it. It's like, what is a screencast? It's, role play video, that makes sense. Video of you teaching a skill or whatever, that makes sense. But screencast, so it's not too early to start doing some exploring, looking at Screencast-O-Matic, looking for screencasts on YouTube so you can kind of see what they look like and that sort of thing. And there is an example in the classroom. I think it's okay. I don't think it's great, but it's there. So.
Again, do we use the lesson overview as an outline to go by to do our video with?
Yes.
Okay. And on the learner wheel, it says to use 2-part learning objective format, that your verb is the appropriate level in Bloom's taxonomy, and that the desired behavior is observed. What is that?
That's just more about focusing on how do you write learning objectives. So when you write Lurie, I'll be giving you lots of feedback on these in discussion and when you turn in your lesson plans and etc. It's a skill that you build over time. Like, so some students are like, oh, learning objectives, but they really are helpful in one, guiding your teaching, and two, your learners knowing what is expected. So what
Okay.
So it's really the learner will is how the best way to start, because they're learner focused. So the learner will, what is it they're going to do? They're going to demonstrate something. They're going to, there's a whole list on the Bloom's taxonomy of the different verbs you can use. Well, let's say they're going to demonstrate proper sterile technique when applying sterile gloves, something like that. Or proper aseptic,
Okay, so
applying sterile gloves. So the action there is that they're demonstrating, and the measurable behavior is applying the gloves aseptically. Does that make sense?
yes, ma'am. So if we're teaching a patient how to draw up insulin, we can say that patient will demonstrate how to draw up insulin accurately?
Yes, yes. And that's
Okay.
So sometimes what happens is also students will try and I catch these and I give you feedback, but they'll try and put in multiple behaviors. So the patient will demonstrate how to accurately read their blood sugar and draw up insulin appropriate for that blood sugar level. Nope, that's too many behaviors. So that should be broken down into, because if one part is wrong, do you know what I'm saying? Then the whole thing is wrong. Versus patient will demonstrate how to accurately measure their blood sugar, and patient will demonstrate how to accurately draw up their insulin. Those are two separate measurable behaviors.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any questions about topics that might be good? We kind of have tried to.
I have one.
Sure.
I'm sorry. This is Amanda Bowles, but I go by Amy just to make everybody confused.
Yep.
One of my topics that I would like to do, if possible, working with the health department here. I'm in Columbus County, North Carolina, which is number 100 out of 100 for health outcomes.
Oh boy.
And yeah, so I'm trying to work with the local health department. I mean, in addition to my job, just trying to, we're instituting some health initiatives. And one of the things that we've been doing is working with the churches with this fit and faith thing, where we're increasing physical movement and trying to get people moving. So we've been doing that since January, and it's working out really well. And I've just started in the process of starting a senior exercise class. So I'm wondering, I know it's not a traditional, typical nursey type subject, but it's very relevant for my community and for what I'm working with, if I could do something like that for my topic.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just have to be clear about, I think it should be a typical nursing role, is to support people and be
Well, I do too, but
and physically active, and the idea of health coaching and that sort of thing. So, you know, if you wanted to do a topic on, you know, how do you start with a basic walking program or something like that? You know, first, of course, they've got to have clearance from their physician, and wearing the right shoes and the right clothing and walking in safe places. And yeah, you know, so that's just an example. I think that would be perfectly fine. How do you want to
great.
when you're exercising? Sure.
Right. Okay, great. I was thinking that even like for the role playing and stuff like that, it would be a good thing to do. Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions?
We'll be able to view this afterwards also, or listen to it.
Yeah, I'm going to actually stop the recording right now.